Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday, October 15th. Today's a great day. I love October. I don't know what it is about the air of October, but it really gets to me every single year. But with that being said, my name is Nina Brennan. This is my co founder, Jonathan Poransky. We're co founders of Scaling Lean. And every single day, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we go live with topics about the coaching space and agency space of what it took to build a 7-figure business online. We talk about what's working right now in 2025, not the old school tactics of 2016, 2020, 2021, etc. So with that being said, we have a cool topic for you today called our predictable profit engine. We're going to break down exactly the 3 pillars of what is it that you need in order to build 6, multi-6, and even 7 figures in the online space, and one particular mechanism that helped us really grow and scale our business. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to you, JP, and we can just dive right in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love this topic, Nina, and this is really geared particularly around folks that already have an offer. They're already in momentum with at least $10,000 a month in earnings, right? And they're looking to really now expand their market with cold traffic and build a automated lead generation and conversion system to gain them leverage and ultimately scale their business, right? Our favorite place to scale and generate leverage is through Facebook and Instagram ads. That's our best way that we've particularly found. We've done outbound messaging on TikTok. We've done short form videos. We've done cold outreach on LinkedIn, and all those tactics work. But our particular best place to gain leverage is Facebook and Instagram ads. So yeah, let's hop in, Nina, and let's go over a little bit of the way we feed and build that predictable profit engine. And some of the roadblocks and things that we learned along our journey, because, as business owners, it did take us time and money to overcome these obstacles inside of our business. And the last thing we want for you, if you're on this live right now and you're in a place of not knowing how to run ads or how to gain leverage, and you're just constantly sitting on that content hamster wheel, sending loads of DMs and not figuring out how to really gain that inbound lead strategy. That's why we want to build this and really speak clearly about it.
Yeah. So when it comes to our predictable profit engine, which is really just the exact way that we've built from 0 to 7 figures in the online space, it comes down to 3 things that you absolutely need. There's somebody outside my window, I'm sorry, in the Airbnb. Sorry, I'm just in an Airbnb. Sorry, everyone who's watching this, and there's just somebody outside in my backyard. Anyway, with that being said, we do drive. So first we have to drive traffic, then we have to convert traffic. But the first thing that we have to do is focus on validating the offer, right? Validate offer, messaging, and getting all that feedback to make sure that if we are going to bring it to the cold market, everything is good to go, right? So you want to validate your offer first, and then you want to drive. And then their missing piece is a lot of people will have a good offer, land some clients, and then they're like, oh, now I have to drive new traffic, and they turn on ads, but they don't have the mechanism in the middle that's actually going to convert those leads into paying customers. So that's really what I want to focus on today, JP, is what is that conversion side of what is it that we're doing in the middle to take awareness from whether it's organic and or paid traffic, and then putting it into like our offer that's proven and or we're trying to validate through the cold market.
Yeah, completely different lead traffic generation sources, right? And I feel that until you're able to really generate those leads automatically, you really will not have a stable business, right? Whether that is through, paid advertising or any way that you're generating leads on social media. So what you're saying there, Nina, is we want to go over really the way that we're generating and building that cold traffic offer to move people through the process, right? And what it takes on Facebook and what we've learned is it does take clear, compelling messages about like who you are and what you do. And also we utilize storytelling and really our branding to pull people in, right? So I think at the highest level, that's really what we really need to focus in on here, because when you're posting on organic marketing side and you're doing short form videos and written style content, oftentimes people will watch your content for a long time. So when they do hop on phone call and go to close and or you present your offer, they know a lot about you already, right? And with paid advertising, it's a little bit different. So we have to build in those nurturing processes through email marketing, text marketing, and video content to really inform the folks of who we are, what we do, because they don't have that. In most cases, they don't have the length of organic content of you posting for 3, 6, 12 months, right, before making that decision to come into your ecosystem.
Yeah, and that was the biggest mistake that we made when we first stepped into the paid ads arena. Was we spent, I think it was in total like $18,000 or just shy of $18,000, and we had zero sales, zero calls, and just zero in return except this knowledge moving forward. And when we first did this, we were like, oh my God, like ads don't work, as many people would think. But then we started to look at the feedback of like, okay, like our offer worked. We had people paying us between $5,000 and $15,000 for our products and services at the time. So what happened when it came to cold traffic? And I like to say that we were treating our nurturing process and our conversion process very lazily, or in a lazy way, lethargically, solely because we were so spoiled by the organic market of people consuming our content, like what you said, for maybe upward of 2 years. And then it's like when we spoke to them and hit them and actually put an offer in front of them, it was like an easy, like, heck yes. But we weren't taking into account the fact that they've seen our face, they were following us actively, they were listening to our content, and then they came into our ecosystem. The right offer made sense because they knew who we were. And when we went to the cold market, we did something very similar of like, oh, like we could just either like put ad spend behind this like thing that was working and went semi-viral, because we never really went viral on social media. And it's like, okay, well, that will work just by putting ad spend behind it. And it didn't work for us. And then it was because like, as we were looking at the numbers, it's like, it dropped off at like, people would come in, they would give us their information, and they would drop off inside of our funnel within like 1 to 5 minutes of our VSL that we put together. And then you actually had this crazy idea. And I remember when you first brought it to me, JP, I was like, it's never going to work. It's too short. There's not enough like information. But you put together like a 5-minute webinar. I think it was like 4 minutes and like 38 seconds or something. And you did it overnight. You like locked yourself in the room. You're like, I'm going to rebuild our entire funnel. And I remember you coming to me the next day with like a funnel with like a white, it was just literally like a white presentation with black letters and your voice over it. And you're like, this is what we're going to launch. And I remember being very skeptical at first of like, it's not going to work. Like, but it had everything it needed to start moving the needle. And within 12 hours, we had 3 booked calls. And that was after spending $18,000 and getting zero in return. Like we literally spent like $150 or $200 that first day. It was like instant, like qualified people on the calendar for a social media audit. It's like, what changed? And it was really just having that like feedback of like where people were dropping off, what people were actually wanting, what was actually missing in our funnel. And you built this like brilliant thing of the 5-minute webinar that kind of just like moved people through from cold traffic to not the first day it closed, but eventually 4x return.
Yeah, absolutely. That was amazing time and download that we received in that little time frame there. And I do remember vividly, Nina, that you had a really amazing post during that time, right? And it was our typical long form post that was probably like 200 to 300 words. And it really had a really really impactful story of how you deleted your TikTok of, what was it, 30,000 people or 15,000 people. And that helped you scale to $650,000 a month. And there was a story behind it. And I was like, this is really impactful. And I remember sitting there with you and we were like, hey, why don't we just like chop the bottom off of this and just condense it into this like really short, meaty, like 75 to 100 word short form style video and put a lifestyle photo behind it. And when we paired that with that short video, and it just goes to show that people don't need a lot of information. They just need enough information to go from idea stimulation to the next page, landing page, and then to the 5-minute webinar to consume it, right? So that's how important it is. And that was part of that big epiphany, Nina, is like the segmentation of the data, right? To reduce the resistance and allow people to flow through, right? And I remember that was a big catalyst of that as well, was that post that you have that was so impactful. But we were positioning it as this like long written style ad. And it's like, why didn't it work? It's because the people had no idea who we were. And they're like, why would I even read this 300 word post where, on the organic side, like people had seen you loads of times. So they have context behind, oh, Nina's got this fire post coming out. I'm going to actually read it. Right. And that's why we got that amazing response organically. But when we paired it with complete strangers, it was like they didn't have any context of who you were, what we did, right? So we just needed to really rip into that pain point and speak about the story that they were really sitting in their life right now, and get them to the landing page. And then the landing page was like, here's the outcome of how we went from here to here, and then watch this short 5-minute video, right? So I feel like the segmentation was huge with that as well, right? So we really identified that we had just a constraint in the entire like congruence factor of that process.
Yeah, I love that you just brought up the word congruence, because in my mind, what was coming up that entire time you were speaking was congruence versus character. So in the organic world, like it doesn't really have to be, it should be congruent, but like you have to step into character more so to get people to buy in, and they buy into you. Because there's so many people posting every day, right? And if you're building a personal brand, like a lot of people are selling and saying the same things. So people are buying into the character. Whereas like when you're coming from cold traffic, the character doesn't matter as much. It does in a little bit of a sense, but congruence matters the most, because you're trying to pull people you don't know through the entire ecosystem. And it's not so much about like you and like what you've achieved, but what they're looking to gain as the outcome. And like that was just like a very big like eye-opening, like, okay, it doesn't matter if it's like Jonathan or I as like the face, or the both of us, or none of us. It's like it's whatever's going to pull people in through that congruent copy message from like start to finish is really what it's going to be. It doesn't matter whose voice it's going to be. It's really about the customer or the prospect that's moving through the flow. Whereas like when you're posting on social media and organically, it's like you're really there. It's like it's educational. It's you want to be entertaining. You want to keep people engaged. Like there's so much that goes into like the character play to keep people around. And then there's the underlying layers of like, okay, what kind of style of content is this? Whereas like it's completely opposite with cold traffic. And that was like one of the biggest lessons we learned with like this $18,000 mistake of spending money and getting nothing in return, was like, oh, like it really is just only about what's in it for me. It doesn't really matter as long as it speaks to them. And then obviously you can deliver on what you're selling them.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one of the big things that we've noticed with some of our top clients, Nina, is like they'll have really good, amazing podcast content. They'll have amazing TikTok followings of hundreds, tens of thousands. They'll have like JV ventures with big companies that they have this amazing like organic inbound stream. Oftentimes they don't have any attribution behind what's working and not working, which is something we really help them understand and like basically track what's working and not. And then that allows us to kill things off. The reason I bring this up is because with the predictable profit engine, I think we need to have awareness when we go into paid ads, whether you're coming from a brick and mortar organic style of content, that it is the time frame of building that pipeline, right? And I feel like people just don't have the awareness around it, as we didn't, right, early on, where people are sitting on your profile oftentimes for months, if not years, before making that decision. So we have to think about that when we launch this paid ads campaign, that we have to create this process of informing people of who we are, what we do. And that's why we've chosen the 5-minute webinar, because it's just enough of a video to get people to consume and not have to spend 40 minutes, 90 minutes in order to understand who they are, right? So they can take a short video and then make the decision to go deeper and learn more about it with longer style content, stuff like that, right? So what I'm trying to say is the predictable profit engine is an entire ecosystem, right? We start off with the paid ad stimulation. We move them to a 5-minute video to get the buy-in of who we are, so they want to learn more about us. And then we create an entire nurturing process that's automated based around email marketing, text marketing, even social media posts, that really just keeps them moving through the process, right? Because it's all about how many touch points that you can get someone to consume in order to get them to become a buyer or not a buyer.
Yeah. I think one of the most amazing statistics that we learned over time was it takes between 15 and 21 touch points for a higher ticket buyer to buy. And like, I know that they say like, oh, it's like an average of like 7 to 10, but that's for like a pair of shoes, right? But when it comes to higher ticket, like it's 4 to 7 hours of content consumed. That's like the average duration that you need to put your face and or your message in front of somebody for them to buy, without having buyer remorse or like feeling forced into a sale or doing the bro marketing tactics. It's to warm them up, get them to know who you are, what that outcome is, and then really be bought into the vision, mission, and outcome that they're buying into. And that 4 to 7 hours is game changing if you could do it inside of the funnel before getting on a call, because even the call, whether it's like a 90-minute webinar pitch one-to-many and or it's like a 45-minute one-to-one, like that's inside of the content that we're talking about. So if you could get like 5 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 15 minutes here, and kind of just send them through like the case studies. And now they're watching the case study videos. There's such a process that goes into place to get somebody to truly buy into like you. And if you don't do it correctly, that's where refunds come in. That's where buyer remorse comes in. That's where kind of bad clients come in. And we've learned over time, like you have to hit those numbers in order to make sure that people are going to move forward correctly. People are really bought into the vision, and then they're committed to the process that it's going to take, especially if it's not instant gratification.
Absolutely. So drop a comment below this if this is resonating. If you're having problems with your paid media on Meta or other platforms, even we've had folks use the 5-minute webinar on other platforms as well. It's just our weapon of choice is Meta. But let us know what resistance you're hitting. Is it more of like the system side where you don't understand like what process and how to attribute your data and you have no understanding of what's working and not? Or is it more like, I just don't understand how to get ads working? We always love the feedback so we can start to, do better with our content and make these live videos more impactful. So yeah, Nina, I don't really have anything else unless you can think of something else in this one.
Yeah. The only thing that I have is like we are hosting our live masterclass, the 5-minute webinar masterclass on Saturday, October 18th at 9:00 PST. It's going to be a ripper. We're going to go into everything about the predictable profit engine and how the 5-minute webinar was the catalyst for our success here at Scaling Lean. And if that's something that you want, it's only $5. It's going to be 2 to 3 hours of just like high impact value that you could implement immediately into your business. So with that being said, if you want to be part of it, just drop masterclass below. We will send over the link with all of the details and you can make a choice whether or not you want to join us. But I'm telling you, it is going to be the best ROI that you get this entire year going into 2026 as well. $5, you can make 10 times, 20 times, 1,000 times over with this simple strategy. So with that being said, we will see you tomorrow at 9:00 a.m. PST, and hopefully we'll see you on Saturday as well.
Have a good one.